Hello everyone, I'm Namrata and hi Harkirat, how are you?
Hi, ma'am. I'm good. How are you?
All right, so we have a lady today who personifies sound mental health because mental health is all what are we talking about these days. I guess after COVID,
True.
everybody who never even knew about mental health have realized how important it is, right?
Agreed. Agreed.
And I know you as a person who has survived mental health issues, okay, which mostly people feel are there in the families of addiction or, only certain families, but it's everywhere. I guess these issues are there in every household. So, how has your journey been? Fighting with these mental health issues and ultimately these issues which result in relationship problems, in problems with how to cope up with life. And let's hear from you.
Well, thank you, ma'am. This was a really, really kind introduction. So, first of all, I am so glad that society has finally started talking openly
Yes.
about mental health.
Yes.
It's something that's considered to be legitimate now and almost as part of our overall health, which is not the notion that
Right.
most of the nation,
Right.
most of the
Right.
world carries.
Right.
So it has been a very colorful journey, is what I like to say. I don't like to.
I like that word.
So do I. I love it. So what I tend to do is I don't like to categorize life overall as good or bad. I like to
Yes.
categorize it as something that's got a lot of colors to it. Certain
Right.
colors will be on a painful end, and certain colors will be on a joyful end.
Right. Right.
We of course got to know each other because I became associated with this mental health recovery program that the hospital runs. And I started learning about mental health because of certain addiction issues in our family, and which were, of course, leading to a lot of other issues in the
Yes.
families. And of course, it was propelled by other issues, other mental health issues in the
Right.
family as well.
Right.
So that is what kind of brought me to know more about mental health.
Yeah,
Talk
I
more about
guess
it.
you are right because, I mean, your father, I believe, got treatment for alcoholism, right?
That's right. Yeah.
But the thing is, you came to know about alcoholism and disease part quite later.
That's right.
The issues were already existing,
Yep. Yep.
and the issues were there, are there in the family at that time.
That's right.
So, what was happening behind the scenes of alcoholism before
Yeah.
coming to the hospital?
Yeah. So when we got to the hospital, I think it was when we were all short of hope. We all, as it is, prevalently termed here, that we had reached our rock bottom.
Yes.
And I have this theory, and I've talked about this before, that I do believe that when you need to take certain action in any aspect of your life,
Right.
the universe, it gives you certain signals.
Yes.
It
वो
says
शाहरुख
it.
खान का डायलॉग है ना पूरी
Kainat.
कायनात
Correct.
yes that is
Correct.
there.
So I have a little like morphed version of it, wherein I feel that the universe nudges you a little bit. It tells you, hey, you
Yes.
really need to do something
Yes.
about this
Your
aspect of
your
your life.
soul feels it.
Correct. Your soul feels it. Your life kind of compels you to take certain actions. And you keep on, maybe because it's too painful to get really deeply into, or
Yes.
because it involves a lot of hard work that you're not prepared for. You tend to ignore that. You tend to ignore that voice. And then the universe starts screaming, is what I feel. Then every aspect of your life starts screaming, and there's a cry for help, which we essentially call that we've reached a rock bottom now.
Yes.
So that is nothing but, I think, the universe yelling at you that take some action.
How
This
how how did it feel growing up in a household
Yeah.
which has been your forte now to you talk about so
Yeah.
openly, so vibrantly. So what was it like growing up in the household?
Yeah. So I don't wanna demean my entire childhood by being like, oh, it was so painful and so
Yes.
traumatic. Of course, we had our nice,
Great
joyful
moments,
bits.
yes.
Yeah, and as a family, the fact that I'm sitting here today, the fact that I'm able to speak the way I speak, I'm
Yes.
able to have the connections that I have.
Yes.
I think a lot of it I owe to whatever my life has given me throughout.
Yes.
Be it good, be it bad, right? So I do want to say that there were joyful moments, but they came with a lot of pain. The amalgamation with trauma was there as well. So I grew up in a household where I did initially sense that maybe the relationship between my parents wasn't really smooth. There were certain communication issues. I felt like maybe their compatibility needed some work. As a kid, I could sense that. Now, what happened was that those issues,
When you say as a kid, how old were you at that time?
I must be 7 or 8. Yeah. So at that point, and I think as a kid, maybe I've had that ability. I take it from my mother, probably, that I'm very observant.
Yeah.
I take note of little details.
And children feels anyways, whatever age it is.
Yeah, so they do tend to take a note. We might
Yes.
think that this was such a tiny thing, they might not
Right.
even recall,
Right.
but it stays in their mind
It
for like another
stays.
20 years. So as a kid, I would observe such things and I would see that, okay, things are maybe not that smooth. But as kids, I think we are in our own euphoria. We like to believe that the world's a good place.
Yeah,
things will
we
be
are in
figured
a
out.
make-believe world of our children, yes.
True. And because happy endings are so glorified, we just feel like, okay, there has to be a happy ending. Every problem that exists will get figured out.
Right.
So I believe that is the thought process we used to carry as children. Now, what tends to happen is as life moves forward, a lot of other issues come into the picture as well. And what they do is they act as a catalyst to those existing issues.
When you say other issues, I mean, how would you talk about it?
Yeah. So, for example, in my family, that was addiction.
Okay.
So already there being some sort of unrest. My father was in Merchant Navy, so he wasn't physically around
Yes.
a huge part of the year.
Yes.
So as kids, of course, we longed for his presence. My mom must have felt at certain point that, she might have needed additional support system.
Right.
So all of those issues were there, but then what happened was that my father got into addiction. He started consuming alcohol beyond, I would say, the reasonable amount. And it almost felt like alcohol was becoming more important to him than us.
Right.
So when as children we saw those priorities shift, I think that was like a hugely painful.
I think when addiction hits the family, it's like everything is revolving around that substance, that condition,
True.
Everything is related to that.
Yeah.
So was it the same case in your family?
It was. And I feel like as humans, we tend to just find one problem and fixate upon it.
Yes.
And we just feel like, okay, that's the main issue. And we all need to like direct our attentions to it. And everybody else's pain just becomes negligible. So I think something of that sort happened wherein eventually, of course, this has happened over a span of years. But then eventually the main focus was addiction. The main focus was all the ramifications that came with that addiction, the emotional ramifications, the financial ramifications.
So were there moments where you had to choose between your dad and mom? You had to take sides?
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
how traumatic it was for you and your sister that time?
So I think all the other, to be very honest, losses that came along with addiction were more or less, I think, still tolerable for me and my sister. So I have an elder sister.
They are immaterial.
Yeah. So they were still immaterial. We were, I think, still kind of good on those fronts. But I think one issue that I know, I can say this for my sister as well, that has hit us deep and that has today who we are, it has got a lot to do with that, is the fact that it in front of our eyes ruined our relationship with our mom and dad and their relationship between each other.
And I guess as you were growing up, this is the time when, we are attracted towards the opposite sex.
Yeah.
We are entering into relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And then we see marriage as an institution.
Mm-hmm.
And the first models we see is our parents.
True.
Right?
True.
So when children are observing their parents fighting with each other, lot of conflicts, lot of clashes, as Dr. Bhatia says, that we carry our father and mother with us throughout our lives. So have you been affected in that way as well?
Yes, and sure, I can touch upon that topic in a minute. But you said something really beautiful, that you know how we look at our mom and our dad as our
Dad.
models.
Yes.
And I feel as kids, right, when we're really small, we feel like we need lenses to look at the world, to simplify it, because the world is just too complicated for a small mind to understand.
Yes.
So what we do is, the adults that are close to us, we kind of use them as lenses to
Right.
look at the world.
Right.
So I feel, of course, be it the world, be it even God, I think as kids, me and my sister would look at everything through our parents' eyes.
Right.
How
We all
they
do.
viewed the world.
We all do.
Right. How they viewed the world, how they viewed relationships, how much they respected relationships. So I think a lot of how we started thinking about relationships, how we started viewing marriage as a whole, what fears we developed towards marriage,
Yes.
what
Yes.
triggers we developed.
I mean, these days I hear a lot of young people saying, we don't want to get married.
Yeah.
We prefer live-in, we don't want commitments.
Yeah.
And most of them, are telling their parents, aapki kaun si successful hai,
Mhm.
why should we get married?
Mhm.
So this is the scenario these days.
Yep. And I have heard a lot of people, it takes a lot of bravery to love
Yes.
these days.
Yes.
And I think one of the major reasons why that has come to be the case
That is quite a
because-
deep statement. It takes a lot of bravery
takes
to
a-
love these days. What do you mean by that?
So I this is kind of funny, but I do feel my first heartbreak in life was through my father.
Yeah.
Because as I've talked about this before, he really was my superhero.
Yes. Dads
fact-
are.
The fact that he would stay away, he would be sailing, and then he would come back after a few months, I would be so excited that he's gonna be back. I used to worship him essentially. I used to
Special
feel like-
guest appearance,
yeah. So it's like
Yeah.
the lesser you get of something, the
Yes.
more you want it.
Right.
So the law of diminishing marginal utility,
Yes.
whoever's very much available,
Yes.
they're like, nah,
Yes.
I want the person who's not that available. So I think it's, of course, how limited availability he had for us
Yes.
physically as well. But I think it was also the fact that he was just such a gem of a human being. He was like the typical definition of being a cool dad. He will not, be like, oh my God, I don't want you to do this, I want you to do that. He would be like, I remember Papa passing such funny statements like, in Punjabi, he would say, Kadi sanu bhi school jaan da mauka do, kuch shaitani karo, assi bhi jaiye, sanu bhi teacher bulave. And so he was that kind of dad. He would never force us to be extremely studious. He would want us to explore ourselves. So I think knowing that my mom was a little bit on the strict end, just having that cool of a dad made me feel like, oh, I just
Yes.
absolutely love my dad.
Yes.
And I feel as a kid, I just wanted to protect him at all costs. Not just him, but also the image I had built of him. I didn't want anybody to break the narrative that my dad was a bad person.
Yes.
And what happened was that in the initial years, when he started drinking a lot and when he was having issues and, things would get escalated, people would talk about how he is deliberately doing this, how, he has control over it and he's just not making a good use of his willpower and not leaving addiction.
Yes. How come he's not able to do it,
Yeah. So people would talk about how this has got a lot to say about who he is as a human being. And I remember just,
I mean, directly the character is attacked.
Exactly. So the entire core of a human being, that is questioned just because they have like
Yes,
one bad
yes.
quality. And okay, I do agree, it's again a quality which has a lot of consequences to it. Addiction in itself is a very difficult thing to deal
Difficult
with.
thing.
So again, I don't blame anybody. Everybody was just trying to make sense of what's going on. Everybody
Yes.
was just trying to see, okay, let us just put
Yes.
this person into a
Yes.
box, call them bad, and just make them a villain so that we
Right.
can make sense
Because
of
the
it. That's
perspective of disease was missing. That is what is the
Correct.
tragedy in our lives,
True.
and not just disease, the relationship issues, the behavioral issues in every household these days, that particular thing, that why this is happening is missing, is
Yeah.
because there is lack of good mental health.
True.
Mentally we are not healthy people.
Yeah, and again, I think as humans, we find it difficult to make peace with grayness.
Yes.
the acceptance towards grayness comes very difficult.
Very difficult.
Yeah. So what happens is, I think this is probably the part of our brain that wants us to survive.
Yes.
We just want to just call somebody and
Yes.
it's much easier for us to draw a boundary that way rather
Right.
than just understanding that even this person has layers to them.
Right.
Even this person could be potentially going through a lot of issues. So I think the same thing that was happening at my household, I think initially, of course, people must have tried to cut him some slack. People must have
Yes.
tried to, be softer to him.
I'm sure.
Yeah, and eventually, when I believe things kept on getting escalated, my love for my dad was rebuked as well. It was said that, you are enabling his behavior.
Enabling.
The fact that you are so nice to him, even after he does all that he does, promotes that kind of behavior. So, as a kid, the warrior that I was, the rebel that I would still put up a fight for it. No, my dad's not a bad human being. Don't talk to him like that. Don't speak about him like that when he's not there. I would do all that, but I believe I was just a kid who was getting her heart
Yes.
broken every time.
And in front of that kid, there was only a father figure. A
Yeah.
father was there.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
Nothing else.
Nothing else.
But then when I grew up and I started to see the consequences of it, I started seeing that, okay, his health is really plummeting. The entire scenario is taking a toll on the entire family's mental health.
Yes.
When I started taking a note of all those things, and when I would take those promises, and I've again talked about this before, that just on a couch, my father would be there, he would be half drunk, and I would be in my school uniform. I would come back, I would hold his hand, and I would be like, Dad, you're the spinal cord of our family. You really shouldn't be doing this. We love you so much. It's really important to us. So I have tried all those ways, and then the next day he would come back drunk again. And so those heartbreaks became so common for me.
So common.
So that is why I say that one of the major heartbreaks I've had in my life, actually the most important one, was by my father.
Yes. It began at home.
It began at home. Charity should begin at home. Heartbreaks shouldn't, but unfortunately they did. So I think my perspective on relationships, of course, was impacted. And before we jump into, how relationships enter our lives and how this starts impacting the romantic relationships in our lives and other connections as well, I do want to highlight that I think when your internal relationships with your family are not that great, that takes an overall toll on your confidence.
Yes.
That takes an overall toll on how you view yourself.
I think, Harkirat, it takes a toll on everything, because the first relationships we experience are at home, right?
Yeah.
And relationships is all about trust, love, security of life, happiness, fulfillment. And once a relationship is shaken, I guess everything about life is shaken. That's, I guess, what you are trying to, explain.
Very true, very true. And again, almost all the firsts in terms of emotions, in terms of feelings, we feel them at home. Right? So they begin at home. So when the beginning in itself feels so distorted, you start questioning the reality and the purity of everything.
Yes.
And that is why I have called this out before as well, because I try to follow this approach where I try to apply like a analytical approach towards my own thinking as well. And I think it's termed as metacognition, where you try to put your own thoughts under a microscope, and you try to see how you view the world, you think about the world. And I think I was thinking about this some time back, and how my relationship with God has morphed over time, and how I used to be extremely conventionally religious, and then I became an agnostic for some point, and then I'm back to believing in faith. I believe that there exists a higher power that's looking out for me. So I have talked about this, that even this relationship, which is one of the most important relationships, spiritual relationships, kind of defines how you view yourself, the world,
the connect with yourself, with the world,
right? And how, with what kind of energy you walk into the world. That is what it determines. So it's that critical. Even this was impacted by the mahal of my family. So when I remember, I would feel like, okay, things are not that great at home. And mind you, this is not just limited to addiction. I know addiction
Right.
is something that comes up very often because it's like such a huge part of the problem. But
Yes.
this was not the only major issue. There were certain other major
Yeah,
issues
you're
which are
very right, because either it's you or me, if we peep into the households, any
yeah,
household, there are
there
issues.
are issues.
And these days, the way relationships are breaking, the
Mhm.
way, breakups are happening, you'll be surprised to know. I guess maybe you know that there is a restaurant in Gurgaon
Okay.
which celebrates breakups. I mean, you
Oh,
especially go there and celebrate the breakups.
that's
I mean,
interesting.
relationships are being used like tissue papers, use and throw, and all these things are happening. I guess you're right that everything, if things get distorted right at the foundation years, I mean, where is the building of life going to start? I mean,
True.
stand
True.
where it is,
Yeah.
where it's going to go.
Yeah. So essentially, again, it comes down to that foundation, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
yeah, I do want to take this moment and call out the fact that dysfunctional families, I know the moment you see like addiction in a family, it's like easy to put a finger on it that, okay, this
Yes,
family is,
yes, yes,
struggling.
yes.
But so many families I know,
So
you
many.
cannot just point it out and be like, okay, addiction's the
I guess
problem.
every other family has
True.
issues these days.
Every other family. And the communication, and here in this hospital there's this word that we use which is called tasadam.
Yes, the
Tasadam
sadam.
is so common.
Yes.
Tasadam is that unrest, that
Yes.
unable to
Yes.
communicate, the
Yes.
inability to communicate
Right, right.
with peace, with respect.
With communication, I remember Dr. Bhatia beautifully describes the relationship between two persons. It's like if I have to say something and the words get stuck in my throat, that means that's not a healthy relationship.
True.
Why would my words stuck in my throat
True.
if my relationship is trustworthy, if there is love? Why is there so much of fear? Why is there so much of unrest?
True.
Why are we each other's enemies when we are living together?
True.
I mean, these kind of things are happening just everywhere.
Yes, yes. And again, it's just that because it's still to an extent stigmatized. It
Yes.
feels like we are looking
I
down
guess people
upon.
don't even know what mental health is, and even if
Yeah.
it required, because we would like to know about mental health if we know what mental health is.
True, 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 true.
People don't even realize that there is a need of knowing something called mental health.
True.
So,
And I remember having this discussion that before you get this kind of awareness, right, you don't even know what is the enemy that you're fighting against.
oh yes.
So it's like so difficult for the family to even unite against it because
We don't know.
Yeah, who is the enemy? So I think then again, to make sense out of the situation, people try to place that enemy in their loved one, that this person might be
Yeah.
causing it. And the fact that people are with their families and they hold so much resentment against them. There's lack of respect, there's lack of love, there's lack of open communication. There's the fact that we wish to be on our toes all the time.
All the time.
Because you are dealing with someone who has severe anger issues. These issues are way more common, and I have talked about this before as well, that addiction somehow has acted as a blessing in disguise because it has brought us here and cured so many other issues that we wouldn't have been able to even put a finger on.
I guess it made us meet us.
Yeah.
You
Very
know,
true.
I mean, if you talk of anger, you talk of addiction, you talk of behaviors, nobody realizes that there's a science behind it.
True.
There are chemicals behind it. Nobody talks about that.
Yeah.
And we don't know why we are behaving the way we are behaving. Even though we love the other person, we love our family, but still we get into that tasadam all the time, you know. So, yes, I mean, people are not even aware of the science.
Yeah, and what I have absolutely loved here, and I think that's one of the things that made me want to give this place a chance, was the fact that they were stating facts. They were
Facts.
talking about science.
Yes.
They were like, okay, don't listen to us. Don't listen to our stories, because a lot of people, here have persevered through
Yes.
very painful issues.
Right. Right.
So they were like, okay, just listen to the facts. Let's just focus on the facts,
Yeah.
how the chemicals get impacted.
Yeah.
And then from those...
Especially your generation would
Yeah.
like to listen to logics, the
yeah,
facts.
we love logic. So we are
Yes.
like, okay, bring us the facts. And then I think once you've kind of laid that foundation, people are more receptive to the other information that you provide them with. So I remember that I very keenly started observing patterns that were linked to the scientific facts that were getting shared here. So I
You mean to
believe
say the patterns in your family,
patterns
running in your
myself.
family, in yourself?
Yeah, patterns in myself to begin with. There were so many things that were shared here which I could now again substantiate. I could now put it into a term. I could understand what really is going on. And of course, I had heard about mental health, and like you were mentioning earlier, that after COVID, especially, there's been a surge
Yes.
in conversations around mental
Yeah.
health, open conversations.
I guess
around
that's
mental
the
health.
first time a person sat with himself or herself.
True.
Otherwise,
So
we were
true.
just running like machines. I mean, people were sitting together with the family members, some of them for the first time, for such a long time. And it made them uncomfortable because they didn't know themselves,
Yeah.
they didn't know their families. So it was such a chaos.
Yeah. And I heard this somewhere that we have just learned this so well to just sit on our emotions rather than with our emotions.
With our emotions.
And I think COVID maybe pushed us to do that.
Do that.
Yeah, I am so happy that mental health conversations are happening right now. But I, of course, do want to urge that it's not limited to families
Oh,
openly
yes.
struggling with
Right,
addiction
right,
or
right.
gambling issues or any sort of substance abuse. It's way beyond that.
Way beyond that.
It's people with anger issues, people who have trouble communicating within their families, a kid
Yes.
who's not able to openly tell his father
Yes.
that this is the dream that I want to pursue.
Yes.
A kid who feels like he's been done wrong.
Right.
A kid not feeling like he can share his pain with his father. Now,
Right.
I am aware of so many father-son relationships where there's no open
No
communication.
open communication.
And they feel like, okay, I will look vulnerable in front of my family, and that scares people. Just
Yes.
imagine how painful it must be
Yes.
that the room where you are supposed to feel the safest, you feel like, okay, I cannot be vulnerable here
Yes.
because I might be taken undue advantage of.
And how Dr. Bhatia describes it so nicely that if you don't find your first mentors at home, you are going to find the wrong mentors outside.
Agreed.
That's how we end up into such vulnerable, toxic relationships,
Yeah.
pathological relationships, and that is where we lose the base.
Yeah.
That is where we lose the
Yeah.
base. So coming back to relationship, that these days you hear a lot of heartbreaks, lot of relationships breaking, people going into multiple relations at the same time. What are people looking for?
Yeah, I think that's a
And it
very-
is not just with the Gen Z, with the
Yeah.
latest generation. It is with all age groups. These things are happening.
And this is actually a very interesting topic because it has a lot of nuances to it.
Yes.
I believe that before, again, I became more aware about mental health and started deeply indulging into it. I used to believe, okay, there exists evil and there exists good.
Good. That's
Now-
what we've grown up with.
And that's like a very healthy way of surviving through the world.
Yes.
Because that's what makes
This
you...
is right and this is wrong.
Yeah, this is right, this is wrong. Run towards right, run away from wrong. So life becomes a little simpler. So you tend to want to adopt that approach. But after, again, learning more about mental health, you start to realize the grayness of situations.
Yes.
And initially, if I were to hear about, people entering into multiple relationships, people doing unjust, my immediate reaction, and it still would be my reaction, would be
How
that
bad they
how
are.
bad they must be. What an evil, what a cruel human being.
Yes.
How could you be so
How
ruthless
could you
towards
do
someone? But what I've come to realize is, and of course, this is something that will take a lot of time to adopt as a narrative, because we've been taught this narrative, this is right, this is wrong. But now I try to sit with it, sit with this thought for some time, and I try to realize that there's some sort of emptiness that everybody's trying to fill in,
Yes.
right?
The
So these-
vacuum.
the vacuum. Now, that vacuum could have been created on account of something that happened in their childhood, in their life overall, something that they feel like they're missing in themselves. So they are probably resorting to outside resources to fill in that gap,
Yes.
to fill in that
And
emptiness.
these days there's a long list.
Yeah.
There's a screen time.
Yeah.
There's this Insta. There's pornography.
Yeah.
There's AI. There are
Yeah.
so many things where people are running after to earn their dopamine,
Yeah.
the happy chemicals.
Yeah.
And you're very right. This is the emptiness.
Yeah.
I guess that is why people are running, and still not getting fulfilled.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the constant highs that we are chasing,
Yes,
essentially the phasic
yes.
dopamine that sir talks about so
Right,
openly in our program, that
right.
the base dopamine level then comes down, and then that's like another struggle that begins altogether.
Even jumping from the one job to another, not just
True.
one person to another,
Yeah.
but even one job to another,
Yeah.
jumping from one city to another.
True.
The
true.
people are just running.
Yeah. And this actually reminds me of something really, ironic, that I again came to a realization of in past couple of months. Few addictions are, looked down upon. They are belittled, like
Yes.
substance abuse.
Yes.
The other addictions.
The drugs are bad.
The drugs are bad. The other addictions, the other obsessions, the obsession of making money, the obsession
Yes.
of working like, crazy hours, the obsession of chasing career growth like anything, the obsession of getting the most attractive partner, whatever the attractive
They're
means.
quoted as good addictions.
Yeah, this is something that's glorified.
Acceptable.
They also glorify buying branded clothes, buying branded products that you don't even need. They also glorify having the most attractive person by your side, having the most expensive cars. These addictions have been glorified as well. Aren't they causing a lot of damage? They are. But it's just that because they look so good on surface level, they're considered to be something that's acceptable and appropriate for the society. So I think, again, coming back to the point of, if I were to hear stories about, people jumping from one relationship to another, cheating on their partners, I would have been like, that's just a bad human being. They need to get a hold on themselves. And while I am somebody who wants to perpetuate the idea of mental health, I do still give a lot of importance to accountability. The act of acting restrained, the act of knowing that
Right.
I should be doing this. If someone were to do this to me, would I be happy? So maybe if this is something questionable, I should not be doing it. So I still promote all those ideas, but I also feel like people who are constantly chasing, in that chasing mode, who are
They have
chasing
their
some
pain
sort
of their own. They have
they're
their pain.
running from
They're
something.
running from
And that's usually some sort of pain that they're trying to snub, because that pain is just too huge, too colossal to face. In relationships, I think if I were to get into a relationship, and the past relationships that I've been in, I do feel like the character flaws that I portrayed, the patterns that I demonstrated, they were inspired from the childhood that I was a part of.
Yes.
Right? So I think I now try to view everybody under that lens, that how you show up in your romantic relationships, if we are just talking about romantic relationships right now, how we show up in our romantic relationships has got a lot to do with A, how we see ourselves,
Yes.
B, what are the kind of relationships we have witnessed growing up.
Yes.
Because बिलीव इट और नॉट, वो एक होता है ना कि हम कच्चे घड़े के जैसे होते हैं, हम एक कच्ची मिट्टी के जैसे होते हैं बचपन में,
जैसे शेप कर दो,
जैसे शेप कर दो, तो जो तब आप विटनेस करते हो ना, द impact that has on you is way more everlasting than any other phase of your life.
Yes.
So you tend to develop patterns, you tend to develop triggers, you tend to develop coping mechanisms
Right.
based on whatever you've seen, whatever
Right.
you felt in your childhood.
Right.
And it is so interesting that two children who've been brought up in the same household can develop different coping
Yes.
mechanisms.
Yes. Definitely.
Can chase extreme,
due to their own personalities.
due to their own
differences.
personalities, differences, genes, which parent they take after. So same is the thing that I observed. So as someone who had again witnessed her parents fighting so much, witnessed that there wasn't really a healthy relationship, did not see relationships as something that provided solace, but rather as something that was threatening. I think that was just so peaceful. I mean, not peaceful, just rather the complete opposite. It was so scary for me to
Scary.
get into something similar. So I remember initially feeling like the moment that I got a chance to step out of my house, I was like, marriage is bad. Marriage is a bad idea. You know,
So is it only because you had addiction in the family? Your parents were not due to, I mean, that thing, they were in conflicts all the time. I know you are working in corporate culture, so you have these late night parties and these boys and girls hanging around together, and every house doesn't have addiction,
no, no.
but the same scenario is everywhere.
Yeah. And this has again got very little to do with addiction. What I saw in my life, or when it comes to what I witnessed as a child, the relationship that I witnessed, that has got, I mean, there are a lot of factors involved. You can't just put a finger on it and be like, okay, this was addiction. In some people, that's finances. In certain households, it's again that lack of compatibility between
Yes.
partners. There's some sort of resentment that some event happened, some mishappening happened, and people are not able to get over it.
But I want to come back to that tender point you made, that entering a relationship was a scary space.
It was a scary space. Yes. It felt like I was putting myself up for something that could harm me. That could be a constant noise in my life.
Insecurity.
Right. And of course, I think as someone who has felt like, again, this is on account of, you know, the stigmatization that is associated with addiction. When you feel like you come from such a background, you associate yourself with being a little broken.
Yes.
You feel like you were not brought up in the most normal sense.
Yeah, we get this not normal and a broken family.
Yeah.
Coming from a broken family.
Yeah, so I think even if it wasn't explicitly handed to me as a tag, in my head, considering I watched a lot of content, videos, and you know, I was just in general an aware being, I thought that okay, this is how the society would view me. And when you consider yourself broken, it's hard for you to feel like you deserve good things. And although I do
Or
wanna-
rather, will you get good things?
yeah, you just feel like they're not meant for you. And I do want to say that my life has been, although there have been the rough bits, but it has been so beautiful in some other ways. I got a chance to, you know, be connected with some of the most beautiful souls, and again, the resilience, the perseverance that God has blessed me with, I thank God for that every day. Because I would not be fazed if such traumatic events can turn a person into a bitter human being. It's easy. Now I see bitter people and I don't just go and be like, oh, that's just a bad human being. I understand that bad things must have happened to them that have turned them into a bitter human being.
Yes.
So I acknowledge that that could have happened to me as well. I acknowledge that I was blessed in a lot of ways. So I never really felt like I was useless. But when it came to relationships, because you have seen so many broken relationships in front of yourself,
It's a different game altogether.
the most important relationship that you witness, the most important romantic relationship for you is your mom and dad's relationship.
Yes.
When I felt like that was broken, it did take away a lot of trust that I had in relationships. But of course, I did get into a relationship, and that person was extremely kind. And but did I see myself show certain patterns which were problematic, which involved running away from every difficult situation?
For making commitments.
Yeah, being afraid of making commitment, being afraid of wanting to face life together, you know, because I think I was so prepared to just have my heart broken that I would much rather run for it than let the other person do it first. So I think this is something that I saw that came up in me quite often. And of course, every relationship is different. Every relationship is different. Every interaction you have is different. Every human being you deal with is different. So every experience is different. So few experiences I had, yes, I could see that I'm the more scared one. I'm the one who's a bit scared of commitments, and I just feel like it's gonna fail. In few of the other experiences, I felt like there were times when, because was I felt like I was lacking something throughout my childhood. I chased,
There was something missing.
yeah, there was something missing. What I did was, I think I went for someone whom I felt would fill in that gap. And
I think we all do that.
we all do that because a girl's relationship with her father, the kind of bond she has shared with her father growing up, I think it hugely determines, it hugely has an impact on the kind of romantic relationships she chases. So I feel, since I felt like, okay, maybe my father wasn't this present, so maybe wherever I get that kind of attention, wherever I get that kind of presence, I'll just go for it. And I feel I went for relationships which were toxic. I entertained people where, although they were maybe filling in those gaps, but there were other bigger issues that I was putting up with, just because I felt like, okay, maybe I can pull this off. Another thing that tends to happen is that, as a kid who did feel chaos was the new normal,
New normal.
that becomes your reality and that becomes your comfort zone. So then you start chasing chaos as if that is your, that
Yes.
is what you want, and
Yes.
unintentionally you do that.
Yes.
Unintentionally you go for relationships.
Because you are not able to fit yourself in the comfortable zone.
Yeah.
Because you've been so much used to discomfort.
True.
That becomes your comfort zone.
Yeah.
So if good things are coming, we start doubting whether it's
Yeah.
really true.
Yeah.
It's actually too good to be true. You start with that kind of perspective in life.
Yeah, and relationships in general, I think they bring in such a euphoria with them, romantic relationships especially. It's just that I think, as kids, if you feel like, again, you have lacked something in life and your partner comes in and they make you feel like, oh, no, you have it, you got this, and you are valuable, immediately you start feeling great about yourself.
Yes.
And the moment that person leaves, for whatever reason, immediately again that value that they gave you, the worth that they
You
made
lose your
feel,
self-esteem.
you lose your self-esteem. You feel like you're worth nothing. So these days, when people talk about heartbreaks, girls talk about how they feel completely shattered after breakups. I do feel that has got a lot to do with how we viewed ourselves before the relationship even began.
Relationship, yes.
Because if you have
Mostly I hear people saying, the couple saying that after we met, after marriage, after this thing. Yeah, you are very right that we don't become what we are in one day. We carry all our past files with us.
True.
And you are very right about that. So going a little further than the romantic relationship, the kind of life, the kind of society, the kind of times we are living in, the time how sex is viewed, how sex is explained, how romantic relationships are explained, with so much of competition and so much of bars, the measuring rods. How difficult you think it is for your generation, to survive in this world, where the measuring rod, the way you are expected, the expectations, how difficult it is for you, maybe as a woman, to come up with.
Yeah, I think this is something that I was thinking about the other day, that with the invent of AI, with how common AI is becoming, there's one thing that is a real danger to us, if I just leave aside the technicalities of it all and how, it can take away our jobs and yada, yada, yada. If I keep all of that aside, I think one of the major things that AI is harming us with is that it is making us used to perfection. At least the objective version of perfection.
Right.
And I was thinking about it the other day that if you look at nature, if you look at the leaves of a tree, right? If you look at your palms, my palms, the lines are not the same. There's no consistency that the nature has followed. There's no, standardization the nature has followed. The nature just went with it. So there's imperfections in nature
That's a
as well.
beautiful perspective.
Yeah. So I think what makes nature so beautiful is the imperfections. When you go into the hills, you see not every mountain is of the same size, not every mountain is of the same shape. You see so many, elevated areas, and then there's downhills.
Exactly.
And so that's what makes nature nature, the fact that it's not perfect. And now, thanks to a lot of new technology, lot of, again, accessibility, I think people are getting too used to the idea of perfection.
Yeah.
People
Rather,
feel like,
we can also say that they have started feeling that they are not good enough.
yeah. So when they apply that idea of perfection, I think it begins with them.
With them.
When you start feeling less than yourself, you start inflicting it, you start projecting it on other people as well.
Yeah.
So when you feel like you're not good looking enough, when you feel like you lack certain qualities,
Yeah.
your
Especially with
existence-
all the comparison and competition and
Yeah.
advancement which is going around,
yeah,
you are just not able to come up to that level,
yeah.
but to at par with it.
True. And when you are constantly questioning your self-worth, you will feel like questioning other people's self-worth as well, because that's the only thing that will
Only
make you
thing.
feel good. So I have come across a lot of people, and I see them, trying to make the people in front of them feel small. And earlier again, I would just, be like, okay, why are they acting like this? Why would they do that? Now I understand that they are dealing with certain issues in themselves. They look down upon themselves, they feel small about themselves, and the only way to deal with it is to make the other
It's
person
amazing
feel
that
good.
we are reflecting everything on outside,
Yeah.
whereas life begins from inside.
True.
We don't look inside ourselves, and we feel that conflicts, clashes, everything exists outside.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
that's right.
I echo that thought, and I just want to add on one more thing to it. It was usually said that when how a person deals with you, it says a lot about them
Them.
and not about you. Now I've actually come to a great agreement with that idea. That when a person's being rude to me, it doesn't say that I'm worthless.
I'm
It
worthless.
doesn't say that my
Yes.
value is less. It says a lot about them.
Yes.
Maybe they're
But
going
we
through
take it
something.
on ourselves.
We take it on ourselves. So, coming back to the bit where we were talking about how there's, so-called perfection that's prevailing the world at this point. We have so many comparisons in place. We feel like, okay, we want the best, essentially. I think what that is doing is there's only an idea of perfection. There's this
Yes.
mirage that has
Mirage,
been essentially
yes.
created, that there exists some sort of perfection. If you look deeply enough into anything, even if I start staring at this wall deeply enough, I'll start finding spots even in that.
Yes.
So imperfection exists everywhere. B, what it does is it keeps us from appreciating what we have right now.
Right. Do you think when you put all this, I mean, there's plethora of, things these days, the attractions, the distractions and everything, this so-called, post-structural dilemma we are living in, where everything is being deconstructed that, were old times better? For these times when we have so much of variety, it's like, going in a small town for shopping is easier than going to a bigger town because there's so many brands. You don't know what to choose. All right. So do you think, I mean, people of your generation are thinking that maybe traditions were better, maybe value systems were better, or what do you think about it?
I think, as beautiful as those times were, they came with their own challenges. Again, it's like comparing apples and oranges. The situations have changed. Like, it will not be possible to have those relationships, the same kind of relationships now. I do believe certain transitions are bound to happen. With time, we have to change. It's just that purity of love doesn't have to change, right? That respect doesn't have to go away. And of course, there can be certain measures that we can develop. And I do believe, again, the awareness really helps when people openly start talking about it, openly start addressing it, start working on their mental health, start again putting their own thought process under a lens. And when they ask questions to themselves, the entire process of introspection starts. I think such issues can get handled then. And then we can curate something which is meant for these times, which is, we don't have to go back to, the early 1950s to be like, okay, those were the love stories. We can create really
But
beautiful.
do you think certain measures need to be taken, like ban certain things? People are becoming vegan. A lot of things are happening which belong to the postmodern world. Do you think that we are actually looking for a value system, a base? Maybe we've lost ourselves so much into things that we are coming back to human world now.
That's a very interesting perspective to take on the entire thing. But I wanna say one thing, that just imposing laws or just maybe taking away rights to access certain things, they will not really target the root of the situation. The root is that, again, why is someone watching porn so much? Why? Which feeling are they trying to snub essentially? Are they feeling small? Are they feeling like, they don't have enough going on in their life that they need to resort to such means to just chase some sort of dopamine?
Yeah, yeah.
So I feel,
And especially when you already in a relationship, when you married, or when you
yeah.
have your partner with you,
Mm-hmm.
what is the need to still go there?
Yeah. So again, these issues, I think they are way deeper than we realize. So just addressing them superficially by just maybe banning a couple of sites might not really help, is what I'm afraid of. But of course, I want to quote Marcus Aurelius here and be like, everything you hear is an
You
opinion
hear
and
is
everything you see is a perspective. So this is just my perspective. And of course, this needs a lot of research and digging in. But I do believe that there are deeper conversations that need to be held. You need to understand why. Maybe it's the fact that they don't have jobs to keep them occupied. It's the fact that they're feeling worthless. It's the fact that maybe, people, there is no real connection that people are establishing. So they are resorting to such sites, or just to feel something, people are accessing certain things in life. But
So
yeah,
the whys need to be studied. That's what you, rather
Yeah.
than the what is happening,
correct.
the why such a thing is happening, that we need to
Yeah.
explore.
Yep,
That we
I
need.
agree. I agree. So I think, again, rather than, rebuking someone for doing something, just ask them what makes you do it.
Yes.
What makes you want to go there,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So I think overall, once we start addressing this, things will become better in the greater scheme of things,
Right.
rather
Right.
than just addressing the problem in the short run and being like, okay,
Right.
now it's resolved.
Right.
I remember there was this instance that my parents talk about, that I think when they were in Vishakhapatnam in Andhra Pradesh, alcohol was banned briefly for a brief amount of time, right? People started figuring out such innovative ways of getting alcohol.
Yes.
So I believe if you just
The
ban
survival
it-
brain can do anything.
yeah, exactly. So if a person wants something and they need it so badly, because they need to snub some sort of pain in their mind, they will resort to
They will resort to.
different methods to just get that somehow.
Yes. So just shutting down the thing is not the solution. We
Yeah.
need to go deeper and explore
Correct.
the reasons behind it.
Yeah.
So I think it's been long talking to you, and it's been very interesting. So I want to end up this session asking a question. We talked about relationship, we talked
Yeah.
about mental health issues, we talked about the competition, the comparison, what is happening around the world these days. Where do you think our program, which you have been enrolled into, the recovery program we follow, do you think it can be used as a manual? I mean, does it help us getting, healthier coping mechanisms to fight the situations, or rather to face the situations. So what is recovery program for you?
Yeah. So this program in itself, first of all, has been such a beautiful, addition to my life. It has added the sparkle to all those colors in my life. Um, I I think I look at this program more like a very beautiful new perspective that has come into the picture. And the fact that it is backed up by science really, helps me. It gives me additional reliance on whether or not I can actually take their word for it. So it helps that it is science backed, and it has helped me individually look into myself, try to understand that a lot of people that we tend to hold resentment against, you just need to let go of that resentment and forgive them. It has, like you mentioned, the manual, right? The manual to live life. So
The
some
GPS.
the GPS, and we are all somewhere chasing that. We all just want some sort of direction. I see so
Yes.
many people just trying to explore religion just so that they can get some sort of direction. They can just know where to start, what to do.
I personally feel it's a blend of science, spiritualism, religion, humanity, all
Yeah.
all put on a platter very
True,
nicely.
true. And the way I have resonated with even the faith that I follow,
Yes.
after having a part of
Yes.
after becoming a part
Yes,
of this
yes.
program, it's just been incredible. The way I interpret, like, I am a Sikh, so the way I interpret Gurbani has completely changed. Like how I understand that most of the battles, I would read Gurbani earlier and I would be like, which monsters are we
Yes.
essentially? Who is attacking us every day? And now it's like, it's my mind. It's my
yes,
own mind
yes.
that is full of so many monsters. So I believe that this program has essentially given me a lot of new meanings to several things in my life, right? One beautiful thing that I was thinking about the other day that has happened after I have become attached to this program is that the things that you can change, the program will help you establish an action item list for that. The things that you cannot change, this program will help you accept
In
them.
acceptance.
And again, it resonates with the belief system that I carry, that जो चीज चेंज नहीं हो सकती उसके साथ आपको ये सब्र करना
Yes,
सिखा देगा,
yes.
और जो आप चेंज कर सकते हो उसको चेंज कैसे करना है वो
That's
करना
even
सिखा
my beautiful mantra I follow now. Yes, that the serenity prayer, right? So to invest where we can change, and to accept what we cannot change.
Yes.
And the wisdom to know the difference between the two.
Yes, that is
So it was wonderful talking to you.
Likewise.
And I hope it helped you all in some way or the other. And we'll be meeting soon again.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right. Bye-bye.